morning, well, you might have just seen the top of my head for a minute, but what I wanted you to see was the tree behind me. Oh, there's several of them. Do you know what kind of trees they are? They're pine trees. And they are my very, very, very favorite tree. I love pine trees for lots of reasons. One of the reasons is that they smell so good. And the needles fall off the trees and they make a soft bed underneath that tree. So when you walk on it, it's just like you're walking on a soft cushion. And you look up at them and they're so tall and they're so straight, they point to God. And God made those pine trees. Now, do you have a pine tree near you there by the First Baptist Church? I know there are pine trees in Medford and in Melrose. You see, I was born in Medford. I was born at the Lawrence Memorial Hospital a long, long time ago. And there was, when I grew up, our home in Melrose, which was right next to Medford, and most of my relatives lived in Medford. And there, between Medford and Melrose, is the Middlesex Fells Reservation. Oh, that's a beautiful place. Right by Spot Pond. It's just a wonderful, wonderful area. There's a stream that runs down and bridges that we used to walk over and play in the woods once we were old enough to ride our bicycles there. But there was one place that I just loved above all the others. Just there at the Middlesex Reservation, there was one hill that was totally covered with pine trees. They were just beautiful. And if you walked up that hill, it was kind of slippery, but when you walked up the hill and you got to the very top, for some reason, one tree right at the top of the hill was missing. I don't know if it burned down or there was lightning or whether someone cut it down, but there was a hole in the trees. So you could look up and you could see the blue sky. And it was just like you were in church. You knew that God was right there. And then the wind might blow, and you would hear the sounds of an organ, and you couldn't help but pray and say, "Oh God, thank you so much. Thank you for making something as beautiful as a pine tree." And then sometimes the sun would shine down through that hole in the trees, right down to earth, and you could stand right in the sunlight, and it was just like you could look up to heaven and see Jesus. I love pine trees. They are just the most beautiful tree, but not only are they beautiful, not only do they sound beautiful in the wind, but more than that, they are a wonderful wood to work with. You see, I do a lot of carpentry. I earned my way through college doing carpentry. And when I was a young man, I found that I could rebuild a sawmill. Oh, it had a saw blade this big, and it had this long body, and you'd place a log on it, and you'd run it through the saw, and you would have a board. And what I did was, I went to a forester, and he knew there were some trees that needed to be cut down in the woods because other trees would grow better. So I went in with a chainsaw and I cut some of those trees down. I lugged them on a truck. I brought them to my sawmill and I sawed them up into boards. And I built a house. I built the first part of my house with those pine boards. So God not only gave us something really beautiful, something to look at that made our hearts sing, that made us feel like God is right here with us. He loves us so much. He gave us something so beautiful as a pine tree. Oh, not only that, he gave us pine trees so we could build a house out of them. And we could have a place to be warm when the winter snows came. We could have a place sheltered when there was a storm outside. So pine trees are so beautiful. So I want to thank God just this morning for a very simple thing. Just a very simple thing. Thank you, God, for giving us pine trees. Jesus loved the world. He loved the birds of the air, loved the flowers of the field. He just loved the world that God had created. And like we love the world that God created, we love God and we love his son, Jesus Christ. So when you see the next pine tree, I want you to go near it. I want you to smell deeply. I kind of hope there'll be a wind so you hear it whistle. Then I want you to think, just imagine, God gave us that tree to make our lives happy, to shelter us, to show his love. God bless you. I'll come up from New Hampshire someday to church there, but I'm awfully glad I can join you on Children's Chat. This is Ken Boyle saying, thanks for visiting with me, and you probably heard Molly bark a couple of times. She's a wonderful dog, and she says hi too. Goodbye now. See you soon.